so that India is actually censored on that. The Indian media itself is actually pushing its country toward wars with all its neighbors. It is also spreading disinformation within India, and as a consequence of that, I think internal strife is increasing amongst the various minorities, whether they are Sikhs or they are Dalits or they are Muslims and the Hindutva followers. So they are not doing any service, the Indian media is not doing any service to India or to the international peace and tranquility, and that is the point I think which the friends of India needs to understand.
Alright, Jalal Saab, thank you very much for your comments. Professor, it was a pleasure having you, sir. Thank you so much for your presence as well, and that's all we have for this hour. I'll see you again, inshallah, tomorrow at 8. Till then, you take good care. Khuda Hafiz.
Raise your words, not voice. It is rain that grows flowers, not thunder.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to PTV World News. I'm Shazad Qayyum with the top stories of this hour. The federal government filed a reference in the Supreme Court regarding holding the Senate elections through open ballot. Prime Minister Imran Khan says police have a pivotal role in uplift of the country by creating sense of security among its citizens. Addressing the passing out ceremony at police lines headquarters in Islamabad, he says we should respect our police. President Dr. Arif Alvi says no nation can rise to glory without the contribution of women. Addressing a meeting on measures for protection of women's rights, he says Constitution guarantees equal rights to women. Information Minister Shibli Farrukh says the opportunistic groups in PDM have different and separate directions. The Foreign Office summons Indian Charge Affairs to register Pakistan's strong protest over ceasefire violations by the Indian occupation forces along the line of control yesterday. Indian shelling killed one civilian and injured three others, including a 4-year-old child. Chief of the Naval Staff Admiral Muhammad Amjad Khan Niazi expresses confidence over combat readiness of the Navy. Naval Chief was chairing the Command and Staff Conference at Pakistan Navy at Naval Headquarters. U.S. President Donald Trump urged Congress to amend a $900 billion coronavirus relief bill to more than triple its stimulus payments to Americans. In a video message on Twitter, he says the package really is a disgrace, full of wasteful items. So that's all for the moment. For more details and live streaming, log on to our website world.ptv.com.pk. You can find us on Facebook page with the name of PTV World and follow us on Twitter at WorldPTV. Thanks a lot for watching, and it's goodbye for now.
Magla Hills, the heaven of Islamabad. The abode of God, a place where you can explore your soul and meet power of natural elegance of mountains. Spread over an area of 12,605 hectares, the Magla Range, the foothills of Himalayas, are youngest hills with an age of 5,000 years old. Magla Hills are home to around 600 plant species, 250 bird varieties, 38 mammals, and 13 species of reptiles. Magla Range is characterized by many valleys, scenic spots, and beautiful water streams, especially in the monsoon months. Famous for their tranquil environment and lush green natural splendor, Magla Hills are a particular source of pride, harmony, and spiritual delight. For the residents of Islamabad, many of whom make it a weekly ritual to scale the various trails to Damanikovo and Pir Suhawa. Magla Hills send off its visitors with lasting trail of memories to relish in solitude. and quite an escape from the relentless rhythm of life.
Passion for polo will be the highest on the world's highest polo ground. Chandur invites visitors to experience a traditional polo tournament between the teams of Chitral and Gilgit. The tournament is held on Chandur Pass, the highest polo ground in the world, at 3,700 meters above sea level. The first time a polo tournament took place on the Chandur Pass was in 1936. It is a place unique and exotic in itself, surrounded by some of the most spectacular mountain scenery in the world. The event marks the annual rivalry between the teams of Chitral and Gilgit. The polo tournament has some added attractions for the visitors: trout fishing at the nearby streams and lakes, and a festival of folk dances and music of northern Pakistan. The event in itself offers a fascinating insight into the lifestyle of the people of this region. Their culture and indigenous customs are a delight to behold for the visitors. Crystal clear lakes, snow-covered mountains, alpine flowers, and vast stretches of green grass are added attractions. Fairs and festivals of Pakistan.
Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm farrukh Pitafi. Once again we are going to talk about politics of Pakistan, especially the politics that revolves around PDM's activism, because PDM minus People's Party once again was active in Mardan today. And apart from that, of course, everything is about the upcoming Senate elections. Today, the President of Pakistan has sent a reference regarding the voting procedure of Senate elections. We are going to talk about that as well. But the news is quite interesting, and that is that there is a split regarding Senate elections within PDM. People's Party, the opposition party, second largest opposition party, mainly centered in Sindh province, doesn't want to actually leave the parliament before the Senate elections. And it seems that they are not very much in support of the idea of resigning en masse from the parliament. And on the other side, when you look at PMLN and Maulana Fazlur Rahman's party, there seems to be a very clear divide that they want to resign and they want to try to bring down the government by doing that. Maulana Fazlur Rahman's party also is witnessing some kind of revolt from the Balochistan chapter. We have seen not one but two senior leaders, including the former head of CII, Maulana Shirani, actually revolting as well. We are going to talk about these matters. What do we see in coming days happening in the country? Whether the Senate elections are going to take place in time, and what exactly are the factors or variables that might determine what happens. We are going to talk about all these matters and more. In order to help us understand these issues, we are joined by Amir Hussain Saab, needs no introduction, a political analyst at regular on the show. Amir Hussain Saab, thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is Ahmed Jawad Saab, Central Information Secretary, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, the ruling political party. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. On Skype, we are joined by Meher Tatar Sahiba, senior analyst, joins us from Lahore. Thank you very much, ma'am, for being part of the program as well. Amir Hussain Saab, let me ask you, what do you see happening in coming days?
In terms of PDM, if we do the dissection of the whole movement, we see a lot of dissension within their ranks and files, because the PDM narrative, which was essentially an anti-state, anti-establishment or anti-government narrative, is now withering away gradually, because the Pakistan People's Party has clear stance that they will not go for the hardline, resigning mood. And within the Pakistan, JUI, as you said, that there is a rift within the PDM. So there are intra-party rifts as well. We are seeing. So it's not coming out as a unified narrative to challenge the overall government stance on many things.
And how does it affect the Senate elections?
Well, I think it's going to affect the Senate elections will affect the unity of PDM. Because we are
political group,
Pakistan People's Party and others are doing their own way, trying to dissociate from the hardline, the PDM narrative.
This was an analysis of the opposition. Ahmed Jawad Sahab, let me ask you about the government strategy. We understand that for the past 2.5 years, every time there was some ballot, usually it favored you. If people were defecting, they were defecting in favor of PTI, not against it. And yet, you have decided to actually challenge the idea of secret ballot involving the Electoral College. The question is, are you expecting something different this time?
Farrukh, let's start from the historical perspective of Senate elections. In last 30 years, I think at least there must be at least 5 Senate elections, which have been participated by the two main parties and also the other parties. After every election, it was always a discussion about the money which prevailed in the Senate elections. So, I mean, this discussion is quite old. Even if you go back to the last Senate election, there was a discussion after the outcome of the Senate election, and if you can recall, Prime Minister Imran Khan at that time
suspended 17 members.
He made an inquiry, and after the result of that inquiry, 20 MPs were removed from KP Assembly, and it was not an easy decision because we did not have that much of majority which we enjoy today, and we could lose the government. Yet, I mean, his stance was very clear, very firm, that we will not tolerate, will not accept this kind of, I mean, any
floor crossing,
trading. So he set an example. No political leader has taken such a stance in the past by any political party on the Senate election. So this basically speaks for the mindset, the vision, intention, understanding of Prime Minister Imran Khan over the Senate election. So it's nothing new.
But you realize that regarding the Electoral College, there are many dynamics at play. The electoral process involves not only Federal Assembly, but also provincial assemblies. That is one aspect that is quite complicated. Then there is a mathematics involved as well. You have to multiply and divide by certain numbers. The second aspect is that every
voter in this electoral college actually files for each seat not one name but a list of names that are called priorities. Now, how do you actually simplify that process into show of hands? That becomes a complicated aspect, right?
I think for the same reason, reference has been filed to seek the opinion of Supreme Court, the interpretation of the Supreme Court, what exactly is possible technically and legally, and constitutionally. So it could be a noble intention at the moment. You can consider this as a noble intention on principles, on merit by the PTI, but it's not kind of commanding something or forcing something. So that is why the reference is set to the Supreme Court. I am sure Supreme Court will be seeking opinion of the legal and constitutional experts on this. And I'm sure there will be an answer, and that will be followed by, I mean, everybody, PTI or any other party in the parliament.
Mayor Farrukh Sahib, you must be listening to the discussion. I have another very important aspect that one has to actually focus on. Remember, last time you were in the show, you were talking about the importance of dialogue between the government and opposition. And now the government actually has revealed, today Shibli Farrukh Sahib actually revealed, the Federal Information Minister, the kind of expectations or demands that were presented by the opposition to actually get, to offer their cooperation with the government. And that at the time of FATF, and that included demand for not considering money laundering as a crime, and similar kind of things, dropping charges and stuff like that. Do you think that these conditions actually make a good prequel to any kind of dialogue at all?
Thank you, Farrukh. The important thing is that there should be a dialogue. I still believe that there should be a dialogue, but it's very obvious that the opposition is not in the mood to have a dialogue, because if this was a protest that was being held to do good for the people of Pakistan, it was one thing. It is very convenient. What has worked in their favor is that things are quite bad in Pakistan as of right now. You know, inflation and unemployment and utility bills and so on and so forth. But despite the government's everyday announcements that they are trying to change things and prices are being brought down, are being controlled, that things are improving, exports are improving, you know, deficit is changing, exports are increasing, production, construction, like everything is going up. But the fact that the opposition is not ready to pay attention to anything the government is saying is evident of them. It's a testimony to their agenda. They do not want to have a dialogue with the government, because
and this is the question actually. It leads me to two directions. One direction is, of course, the dichotomy within political parties. On one side, we keep on hearing Bilawal Bhutto Zardari saying that the time for dialogue has passed. On the other side, we see Khurshid Shah Sahab saying that there should be a dialogue and the government should reach out. On the other side, when you look at the idea of dialogue and the demands that were tabled during the FATF, discussions that were going on, don't you think that the expectation or demand actually is in support of corruption? Can the government actually compromise on the idea of corruption then?
Any government other than PTI government can, adjust to their demands, or maybe be flexible to their demands if that government is endangered by the protests that are being held right now. But PTI's existence, PTI's edifice stands on its accountability narrative. It was created to demand accountability in Pakistan. So I don't think Prime Minister Imran Khan is going to budge from his stance. On the other hand, I do believe that there is no harm in reviewing the NAB ordinance. There must be things that can be improved. There must be things that can be reviewed, because right now there are people from other governments who are facing NAB cases. But there would come a time when people who are in the government right now may have to face certain cases and then they would think that they should have reviewed NAB clauses, because I'm not really familiar with all the clauses of
right. That is important. We have to talk about Section 14 as well, which actually where you actually have presumption of guilt rather than innocence, and that is an important thing that we have been flagging or highlighting. But coming back to you, Amir Hussain Saab, the question right now is, from what was revealed today, if the demand was to drop money laundering as a crime, right, and treat it as something different. And on the other side, the dialogue was going on for laws enacted for to meet the demands or expectations of FATF, which was particularly talking about money laundering.
Absolutely.
It seems to be counterproductive, counterintuitive.
Yeah, I think this is unfortunate, because what we see from the political rallies, the slogans and rhetoric coming from PDM is completely different.
Okay.
They talk about constitutional spacing, they talk about more domain of power to be balanced between institution of state.
Yeah.
But when they come to demand things, they are very different. I mean, you cannot do away with the money laundering as a process of other than being a crime, because we are a financial task force that have done last scrutiny, and they have given us time till June to improve our ranking on this FIT the grey list. But I think if we keep doing all these things which are detrimental to the national cause, then it's not going to pay any service to the nation. But
money laundering actually is not merely a crime, it is international. It actually badly damages your country.
Absolutely.
Remember when after General Musharraf People's Party came into power, all of a sudden money started disappearing. Foreign exchange went away. Current account deficit really multiplied. And that becomes
it's also about our weak financial governance system, which has to be addressed and improved. I think
it is being addressed.
If the PDM has any demand to make, it is about improving the financial governance system rather than taking bailout for money laundering and all that. I think this is different narrative that has to come, and the narrative must become for the larger political and economic stability of the country, which is good for everyone. And as a citizen, I feel that if the inflation is going up, if the economy is in doldrums, shambles, and if everything is, the utility bills are going up, so the responsibility lies in all the policy makers to sit together, negotiate, and see what is the way forward for the better economy of the country.
Ahmed Jawad Sahab, is it fair to say that the opposition somewhere, especially when you listen to Khurshid Shah Sahab and other leaders, there was some expectation that the government is going to reach out and try to actually work out some kind of settlement with the opposition, and the government doesn't ever do that?
Farrukh, I think the discussion of resolution, whether the initiative from the government or whether the initiative from the opposition, I think from the government perspective, the primary compromise which government was expected to offer was on the accountability, on the existing cases of the top leadership. I mean, this was the primary expectation from the government, if government had to start any resolution, any dialogue with the opposition. And that was something which the government never agreed to. And this is the stance of Prime Minister Imran Khan as well. From the opposition...
And this entire story that you had, actually the committee that was holding dialogue with the opposition actually came up with the list, and there was an agreement, and then it went to the Prime Minister and he refused to sign on it. Is it true?
Yeah, that's right. And secondly, from the opposition perspective, their first point of agenda is that Prime Minister Imran Khan should resign, or the government should go home, and there should be fresh new elections. Now these three are non-starters. I mean, this expectation from the opposition, if they are given a mandate in 2013, they love to complete it by 2018.
Okay.
The other political party, if they had this mandate in 2008, they completed in by 2013. They're 5 years.
Okay.
So why do they expect from PTI that they should not be allowed to complete their mandate, which was, I mean, it is a similar constitution, similar election commission, similar environment, everything, in which the two major parties won election in 8 and 13, and when PTI wins that election, then they have a different perspective about the institutions, about the election commission, about the whole conduct of election.
Somebody would say that they are mimicking your party stance during their own government's time.
Anyway, we did opposed, we did brought up, but I think we also went to Election Commission, we went to High Court, we went to Supreme Court, we went with evidence, with proofs about the rigging, and I think this is the political and democratic right, and we whatever we could do, I mean, whether it is court or on the streets or through dharna, I mean, we put up, but at the end of the day, the same government managed to survive for 5 years and complete.
It did. Very quickly, before I go to Matt Patel Sahaba, regarding the Senate elections, and Ahmad Jawad Sahab, this is a question for you. You have gone to Supreme Court. Supreme Court has its own timelines, right? It doesn't follow your timelines. Are you prepared for the possibility that this entire litigation or interpretation might delay the elections in the Senate? Because Election Commission came out and it's clearly stated that elections cannot be held before 10th of February. And that was very chapter table deadline, because you have to actually start only 1 month before. You can do it, right? Now it might be delayed further.
Farrukh, I think the most important thing is that the election should be held on time.
Okay.
And on time means that the intention of the government is that it can be held even 30 days before.
Right.
So that is most important. We have sent the reference and will be seeking the outcome of the reference before that timeline.
Okay.
If it comes, it will be, of course, implemented, whatever is the decision or the interpretation in the elections. But the elections under no circumstances will be delayed, and it is for surely going to happen 30 days before the exact time, which is 10 February, you said.
And just to actually highlight the fruits of dialogue, or the labor of dialogue, right? That could have actually, because there is, it is part of the constitution that the election has to be held in secret ballot, right? And if you are going to Supreme Court, it might actually not be able to give you that kind of wiggle room, but you could have amended this idea by holding dialogue with the opposition and bringing a 2/3 majority amendment to the law, because it is in their interest also to have transparency. But let me go to Mahat Patel Sahaba. Mahat Patel Sahaba, if you remember, during PMLN's time and People's Party's time, it was a major concern for these two parties as well that there would be some flow crossing in the Senate elections. And now we are once again talking about that. So, is it not prudent for the opposition parties to actually come together, talk to the government, and at least resolve this aspect, that if there is clarity or transparency in the process, it might help everybody in ensuring that there is party discipline during the elections?
I mean, you're talking about something they're not ready to be part of right now. They want to dissolve. They want the government to go. They want the prime minister to resign. They want the.
By they, you mean all the political parties, because nobody has resigned from the parliament yet.
I mean, PG, and looking at what they are saying right now, what you were saying is not even relevant to them. But I seriously believe that everything they say is just a pressure tactic. I don't think they are going to resign. I don't think there is going to be a long march. The only thing they are trying to do is they are exerting pressure on the government and the establishment to kind of they want them to back off. from the cases, because it's, I mean, look at what I was saying about NAB. Look at the timing. They could have talked about this the NAB clauses at a later point, but they decided to talk about it when Pakistan had to do something about the FATF situation. But because everything that these parties are doing at the moment is self-serving. It's for their own survival. Now, look at the others. I'm not going to go into Senate, and because that's kind of far ahead in future right now. Right now, 3 people are reportedly dying in Pakistan every hour. There are 3 deaths related to COVID-19 in Pakistan today. Yesterday, somebody tweeted about it. So this is the situation right now. The entire, almost the whole of Europe is under a lockdown. Now, London, where Mariam Nawaz's father and most of her family is, now that's under a very severe lockdown. But imagine, and it's not that Pakistan is not suffering from coronavirus. In the last few days, there have been like more than 500 deaths. This is my major concern, that these parties that claim to be working, to be protesting for the good of the common man, for the Aam Aadmi, are holding these jalsas where people are packed tighter than,
right. You spoke about pressure tactics, and let me ask you another thing. Usually when you look at the circumstances, it is thought that the opposition parties have a fair deal where they can very easily discredit the incumbent government by actually being tactical, right, and tactful. It has been an accusation against PMLN, especially since 1990s, that Mian Nawaz Sharif and his party don't believe in any kind of compromise or holding any punches, and that's why they have always gone for extremes. At times that has actually severely damaged their political standing as well. Do you think that at a time when it was very easy for Mariam Nawaz to try to actually bring down government, she has actually locked herself into a position that shows herself, projects her as an extremist in this regard?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was just thinking about this today. After Benazir Bhutto, Mariam Nawaz is kind of the only female that has emerged on the national scene. We have female leaders, but no one has been able to become as prominent as Mariam Nawaz is in the last few months. But there is such a major difference between late Benazir's politics and what Mariam is doing right now. Benazir's Sahiba's father was hanged in the middle of the night. The family couldn't see him before his death. Her brothers were killed. She was jailed. Her mother was jailed. Mother even got a beep. There are pictures of her bloody face, and so much happened to her. She was always anti-establishment, and she was always trying to. She was always in a fight. But if you listen to listen to all her speeches, not one, not two, you would see there was no viciousness, there was no bitterness, there was no darkness in her speeches, despite the fact that her lifelong fight was against the establishment.
And yet they never actually showed this kind of inflexibility. What is? Let me ask Amir Hussain Saab. Right.
She's fighting with everyone.
Amir Hussain Saab, what is actually contributing to this inflexibility of one of the major opposition parties? I'm talking about PMLN, and it seems that Maulana Fazlur Rahman might also be contributing to the inflexibility. Is it true?
Well, I think the PMLN the Nawaz camp is actually inflexible, and this inflexibility is actually coming from that particular quarter. And Mariam Nawaz, in a way, represents him as the political, guru in her PDM speeches. And I think this inflexibility is not the real politics, because the politics is all about the possibilities.
Right. Will you allow me to actually take a little detour? I'm told Shiza Khaja, MNA of Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, joins us on telephone. Let us also take input from the opposition parties. Shiza Khaja Sahiba, thank you very much for being part of the program. The question that I have to ask you is, in coming days, are we going to witness more agitation, especially at a time when the country is still facing a coronavirus threat and economic threat as well?
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, Farrukh, can you please repeat the question? There's a lot of distortion in the line.
Yeah, the concern right now is that in these days we have seen a moratorium from the government side that they are not going to hold any public rallies because there is a fear of spread of coronavirus. Meanwhile, your party actually was once again holding rallies in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. The question is it what we are going to expect now, and you are not going to actually have any kind of hiatus given what kind of challenges the country faces right now?
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I believe that till the GB elections were happening, and even after that, the coronavirus was still there, and we could see the second wave rising. And as soon as the government's own, wherever it felt necessary to do public gatherings, even today you see all these ministers holding their own gatherings. Asad Umar Sahib, chairman and COC, held a huge gathering of youth in Sindh. They're attending weddings. The government and the ministers in the cabinet are the people who usually take the lead, right? And they set examples and they set the tone of the country, how the politics should be done and is done in the country. That's what government is supposed to do. But unfortunately, we didn't see that. And when that kept happening, we are also a political party with pressure from our workers, with pressure from our party members. And therefore, we had to, continue. And plus, not only that, I believe that in the last 2.5 years, where this government has taken this country is now on a verge where it's not sustainable anymore. And
regarding what you have said, that you are a political party and you also come under pressure from your constituents. Let me ask you another very important aspect. You brought up Sindh meeting of Asad Umar. The government says that the total number of participants was under 300, whereas what you are talking about, and it took place a month ago, but since then we have seen your Lahore Jalsa, other Jalsas, where many people came and there was hardly any social distancing, hardly any protocol or SOPs followed. And the question then is that the voters or people who are actually turning up for the rallies are your voters and supporters as well. So what happens if they catch coronavirus or COVID-19?
I was just going to complete my answer, and I think that would have answered this question as well. That our concern right now is that we want a government that can actually lead this country. And Mr. Imran Khan is most welcome to resign tomorrow, and everything will be settled. They can have an in-house change. However, we can have electoral reforms. For the last 2.5 years, we've been ready to sit on the table. We've offered, whether it was economic help, whether it was regarding COVID, we have always extended our hand. Whether it was FATF, whether it was any national importance issue, we have always extended our hand. It is the government that has isolated and polarized the whole society to a world where this government is not...
Shiza Sahiba, but for the sake of clarity, I have to interject. Until that happens, your demands are met. Any human cost is acceptable?
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can. Can you please repeat?
Yeah, Shiza Khaja Sahiba, until your expectations regarding political change is met, are you saying that any human cost is acceptable?
No, you see, the human cost of this government is much higher than whatever cost you will see otherwise. I'm sorry, but for the first time in the history of this country, we have seen 20% of the households sleeping hungry.
This is an international, agency telling us that. The human cost, the economic cost of this government right now, and the Prime Minister has the audacity yesterday to stand up and say that we were not prepared, we should have come prepared, and they've brought this country to the point of ruin.
With due respect, Mia Nawaz Sharif used to make statements of that sort as well. And it was quoted that Mia Nawaz Sharif also said that we spent 5 years and we don't have any clue about governance. But that is something that was quoted by the media. Hang on, can you stay with us till the end? Let me also bring in the government's perspective so that we can have a healthy debate. Thank you very much. Ahmed Jawad Sahab, your reaction to the demands that are forward there by PMLN.
First of all, Farrukh, I don't find any sanity into the statement when opposition or somebody from the opposition tries to compare COVID, the challenge of COVID, with economic challenges or any other challenge in any country.
Okay.
I mean, this comparison is not done in any other country. And when the question is being asked that the cost of human due to COVID by having such public gatherings, the answer is that we are more worried about the economy, we are more worried about the hunger, we are more worried about the diseases.
Yeah.
I mean, this is no comparison. I mean, COVID is something which does not, a pandemic.
Right.
Pandemic cannot be compared with any other challenge.
Right.
I mean, for the pandemic, it is only one answer,
and
that we have to avoid.
And they are not competing values, right? They are not competing values.
Yeah.
Right?
So, I mean, the opposition kept avoiding to answer this question that are they ready to face this human cost due to the COVID by bringing the rallies, by bringing the protests.
Yeah.
I mean, all the government, repeatedly requested that your rallies and your protest can be postponed for a couple of months. So, I mean, because the COVID threat has been mostly linked with the winters.
Okay.
And we hope, and we are also expecting the vaccine should also be coming very soon, in a few months.
How soon?
In my assessment, I would say that it should be around March or April.
March or April. Have you identified a proper candidate of vaccine? I mean, there's Moderna, there's Oxford, and there is Pfizer. Which one are you going to go with?
Regarding these international brands, they are booked till December 2021.
Okay.
So perhaps we may not be able to get vaccine from them, but a lot of other countries are coming up with a vaccine, and one vaccine which has been partnered with China, its experimentation is in advanced stages in Pakistan, and that will be our best option. Because expecting any other country to manufacture vaccines and give it to us when there is a long queue of countries interested and they have booked their orders. For the China, I can tell you that they want to vaccine about 50 million people before the Chinese New Year.
Okay.
I mean, they have their own challenges. So the best way is that you partner with some company and you manufacture vaccine in Pakistan as a partner, and that's the only shortest way I would say that we can bring vaccine to the public access.
All right. And until that happens, we still are waiting for something else to happen.
I mean, the expectations and the wishes, I mean, there is no...
you realize that there is another vaccine, that is the Russian vaccine. They also have actually...
That's what I said. There are a number of other options, but right now I think we are more comfortable with the existing arrangement with the Chinese company, and its results are also encouraging.
And very quickly, once again, given that we have already talked about the challenges facing the country, is it not important for the government to go an extra mile to woo the opposition, to ensure that these people don't agitate? Because whosoever comes out is your voter, your citizen also. And they are actually harmed by these rallies.
Farrukh, if I tell you that extra mile means a compromise on the accountability.
Okay.
It is a compromise on the cases, corruption cases on the top leadership.
Okay.
If this extra mile, it is meant to be this, I think that extra mile may not be possible at any stage.
At any human cost?
It's not about human cost.
I'm not saying that you don't
Because
like the cases.
it's not the government. It's not the government.
I understand, Ahmed Jawad sir, but I'm not arguing or I'm not asking whether to roll back the cases and amend the entire NAB law. The only thing is, could there not be a hiatus of pressing charges for 2 months until we are out of the winter second wave?
Farrukh, do you think the opposition will be happy with a 2-month delay in the corruption cases? Basically, they
have you tried?
We are quite clear. I think everybody is quite clear. They are not asking a delay of 2 months. They are asking or expecting for the closure of those cases, for a complete compromise. I mean, we use the term NRO. So basically, they want a complete closing down those cases. It's not just about 2 months. If it was just a matter of 2 months, I think that was not a big deal.
But here's the actual argument. The negotiations between two opposition parties is like haggling over certain rates. They come with their hardest position and you come up with your hardest position. And then there's a compromise. You have to actually reach out and sit together.
For us, there is another one, big hurdle. What you are basically aiming or hoping. The opposition stance is that we do not want to have any dialogue with the government, and in the same breath they say they are ready to have dialogue with institutions.
Okay.
So they have ruled out any dialogue with the government, yet they want to have some kind of dialogue with the institutions they are blaming at the same time.
I mean, in a democratic country, there are 3 institutions, basically, right? Three pillars of state. One is executive, one is judiciary, right? And one is legislature. And your Prime Minister, our Prime Minister, is head of the executive. So if they want to speak to the institutions, they'll have to talk to the Prime Minister if Prime Minister is ready.
So, Farrukh, I think...
were you talking about some other institution, some hidden...
I think, Farrukh, it's not about hidden. I think there is no confusion or there is no doubt what they are talking about. They are talking about their dialogue with the military.
Okay.
And that's why I said that in one part of the narrative, they are blaming military. They are calling them as selectors.
Right.
And in one part of their statement is that they are even ready to have some kind of dialogue with the military.
Right.
So there is a contrast, which is khula tazad. So contrast is there between their own statements, and they are not ready. They are not hoping, or they are not even willing to have any dialogue with the government.
Right. Mehtatat Sahaba, I don't know how much time have you spent in studying Pakistan's politics. As someone who has covered it for 25 years, I can tell you when I see the makings of a disaster. And at this moment, it seems that both the opposition and the government side are not flexible enough to actually negotiate on the lives and livelihoods of the citizens of Pakistan. In the middle of this, there is a possibility of COVID spreading very quickly. So if that happens, and if the positivity rate goes up, who should be held accountable? Mehtatat Sahaba, can you hear me? Right.
There should be a dialogue.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm very clear about this. There should be a dialogue. I don't think there is any other choice. I do believe that a lot of what the opposition say is is rhetoric. I don't think there is any real substance to their threats. But despite that, I do believe that these are the mainstream. These are the two major parties: Pakistan People's Party and Pakistan Muslim League, Nawaz, and even I don't really consider JUIF a huge political power, but they have shown that they have the numbers to create chaos on the streets, and that's what they are doing. They are bringing their people to all the jalsas and making this narrative of opposition to the government quite effective. So I do believe there should be a dialogue. I don't think the government should be stubborn about this, the NAB thing. That as soon as we bring them on a table to start a dialogue, they're going to talk about their NAB cases and they're going to ask for an NRO. As I keep saying, I repeat that the Prime Minister should not be talking about giving an NRO.
I understand your position, ma'am, but the question, and let me ask very quickly, Amir Saab as well, who should be held responsible if the number of coronavirus infections once again go up, and if there are more deaths?
Well, I will put the responsibility on the PDM rallies first, because they are not showing social responsibility. Secondly, the lack of coordination between government and PDM. So the government also must bear the responsibility, because they don't have to go for rallies themselves as well. So that is where we have to see that the responsibility lies in both, because we are working on...
Should there be flexibility on both sides?
Absolutely. I mean, you have to, as Meher was saying, that you have to open the doors of dialogue all the time. You cannot stop it. And the government responsibility comes first, because now government has larger onus to take responsibility of what is going on in the country. So I think that is where we have to see.
Ahmed Jawad sir, should your party also be held responsible if the infection rates go up? Very quickly.
I don't think so, Farrukh. It's very clear that government has a very clear policy about the COVID. Its policy is very clear about the number of people who can gather at a public place.
And yet you are not stopping the people who gather.
Yes, we did try to, and
what do you mean by try to?
I mean, we did not.
You have the government's might.
We did not give them permission for the Multan and the Lahore Jalsa, but yet they held those Jalsas, and obviously the government. Not stopping them by force was well intended, that there should not be any political exploitation by the opposition once we try to force them. So we avoided that thing, confrontation we have avoided on the streets.
And if the number increases because you are not stopping them and
you are not PDM,
and you are not reaching out, then PDM should be held accountable.
Absolutely, no doubt about it.
I'm told that we have to conclude the program here. Ahmed Jawad Sahab, thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Ahmed Hussain Sahab, always great having you in the show. Meher Tarid Sahaba, thank you very much for your valuable input and time as well. Viewers, you have listened to our participants. This discussion, of course, is ongoing, and we will have to see what happens in coming days regarding the Senate elections and, of course, COVID-related issues as well. When the crisis is so big that the state of Pakistan might not have the kind of clout or the resources to procure some vaccine that might be the cure, which is being distributed in other parts of the world. Perhaps the best way forward has to be flexibility and finding some middle ground. Unfortunately, we have seen that both the sides don't seem to be flexible enough. So what happens in coming days, we'll have to see, and we will keep on reporting that. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.
The Ubia National Park is located in the lush hills of the Galiat forests that stretch from near Islamabad to Abbottabad and through to Azad Kashmir. It is a sanctuary traditionally known for its spectacular scenery and its unspoiled, peaceful surroundings. But in the last few decades, that has changed. Every year, more than 120,000 tourists visit the park in the summer season. The area has become increasingly popular and is now bustling with traffic and large-scale development.